Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. This is episode 7 of the Carbon Cycle and Energy Security Revision Unit over here on my channel. Today we're going to be looking at alternatives to fossil fuels. I'm making these because it's exactly what I wanted during my A-levels, just someone to sit and say it all to me. So if that's what you're after, subscribe down below. I upload one of these every single Monday at 4:30 p.m. and I will be going through the whole specification. So leave me a comment, leave me some suggestions of which topic to do next. I have already done a load, they're in the playlist section of my channel, so yeah, go ahead, find them if you think they'll be useful, and without further ado, let's just get straight on into this video. The UK's changing energy mix. In October 2016, Hinkley Point C, the UK's newest nuclear power station, was given the go-ahead. The UK government believes that low-carbon energy supplies are the most effective way to fill a looming energy generation gap. In 2015, low-carbon generation, renewables and nuclear energy supplied 47% of the UK's electricity. Wind and solar farms, HEP and biomass then supplied 24%, compared to coal's 22%. The UK's use of fossil fuels is falling. There are plans to close all traditional coal-fired power stations by 2025. Although the UK has 150 years worth of coal reserves and is energy insecure, 60% of its energy is imported. In order to reduce carbon emissions and create a more secure future, the UK is committed to doubling the economy from fossil fuels by increasing renewable energy, especially wind and solar. According to Friends of the Earth, wind energy could provide 25% of the UK's electrical needs by 2020. Solar power is also growing rapidly, up by 86% between 2014 and 2015. However, each energy source has only expanded through large government subsidies. Developing a new generation of nuclear power stations, such as Hinkley Point, which alone will provide 7% of the UK's electricity. Reducing energy use through technologies such as LED light bulbs, and recycling energy which would normally be wasted. Renewable and recyclable energy sources. In a privatised energy market, energy companies prefer income to risk. New investment only comes when the government guarantees a minimum price per megawatt hour, known as the strike price. Hinkley Point C was only agreed when the strike price was raised to £92.50 per megawatt hour. The cost will be passed on to customers' bills. A similar arrangement exists for renewables. Renewable. Biomass. Heated energy from woods, plants, animal and general waste. Strike price £80 per megawatt hour. Solar power. Energy from the sun, generating electricity via photovoltaic cells. Strike price 50 to 80 megawatt hours. Wind energy. Moving air turns a propeller-driven generator. Strike price, onshore wind 80 megawatt hours, offshore 115 to 120. Wave and tidal energy. Moving water flows through a barrage, driving turbines. No strike price, as the technology is in the research stage. And hydroelectric power, HEP. The vertical release of water turns a turbine to drive a generator. The strike price is 100 megawatt hours. Recyclable. Nuclear power. The use of atomic reactions to obtain heat, in turn heating water and generating steam to drive a turbine. The strike price for Hinkley Point C is £92.50 per megawatt hour. And heat recovery systems, or a ground source heat pump, where heat from air inside a building or underground in a garden is used to warm air drawn from outside. Installation is an individual decision, and costs vary between £1,200 and £3,000 for a house, saving £200 on annual energy bills. Alternatives to fossil fuels. Cost and benefits. Nuclear power. Japan before the earthquake and tsunami of 2011. 27% of Japan's electricity came from nuclear power. The Fukushima nuclear plant was severely damaged in the earthquake and released dangerous levels of radiation. Japan then closed all of its nuclear reactors. However, nuclear energy has since been reintroduced as part of Japan's energy mix. In the UK, Hinkley Point C is an £18 billion project which will provide energy for 60 years and generate 25,000 jobs, involving French state-owned EDF and China General Nuclear. Wind power. Hornsea Project 1. 190-metre-high wind turbines will eventually provide power for 1 million homes once completed in 2020. Located 121 kilometres off the coast of Yorkshire, it will create 2,000 construction jobs. Corendon Field in Aysbury. A wind turbine 25 metres taller than other onshore turbines will supply 2,000 homes, but some local residents see it as a blot on the landscape, potentially harmful to birds, and the supply can be intermittent depending on when it's windy. Solar power. Chapel Lane Solar Farm in Christchurch. It costs £50 million and covers an area equivalent to 175 football pitches. It's the UK's largest solar farm, serving 60,000 households or 75% of the homes in Bournemouth. A supporter of the Campaign to Protect Rural England claims that these energy sources are expensive because solar and wind still aren't viable without a high strike price. They also consume productive farmland, which some people argue should be producing food at a time when food costs are rising. The growth of biofuels. Brazil was the first country to produce biofuel from sugarcane in the 1970s. The bioethanol it produced was cheaper than petrol, and it was used as a vehicle fuel. Brazil has since become the world leader of producing bioethanol. As a leader in cutting carbon emissions, cars running on bioethanol emit 80% less CO2 than petrol-driven cars. Brazil aims to double bioethanol production by 2024. Other countries have followed suit. Forests have been cleared in Malaysia to plant oil palms used to produce biodiesel. Oilseed rape in the EU and maize in the USA have been grown for the same reason. The motivation is to reduce carbon emissions, but the downside is deforestation. And in Brazil, social unrest has also occurred. Farm workers lost land to grow sugarcane and cannot now grow food for themselves. Many farm workers end up moving to the cities. This green fuel has reinforced rural inequalities. Swiss, Swedish and American companies have been buying land to grow sugar and soy, inflating land prices. This boom has seen biofuel growth double in area since 2000, while rice and wheat have fallen by 10 to 20%. How carbon neutral are biofuels? On the face of it, producing biofuels seems like a good idea. Since 2003, Brazil's use of bioethanol has reduced the country's CO2 emissions by more than 350 million tonnes. However, contrary to first impressions, some biofuels cannot be regarded as carbon neutral. The move to alternatives to fossil fuels is not straightforward. The fact that biofuels generally produce lower emissions than fossil fuels doesn't make them carbon neutral. Biomass requires a fuel to kickstart burning, in which natural gas is used. Drax coal-fired power station in North Yorkshire occasionally burns wood pellets and biomass instead of coal, but coal is needed to fire up the biomass, and some biomass fuels therefore can produce between 150 and 400% more CO2 than coal. Most renewable installations such as wind turbines require industrial processes that use energy during their construction, indirectly adding CO2 emissions. Reducing carbon emissions. Other approaches. While demand for energy is increasing, the need could help to drive down carbon emissions is greater. The use of radical alternatives could help to achieve that, although some uncertainty exists about how far this is possible. The first method is carbon capture and storage. This uses technology to capture CO2 emissions from coal-fired power stations. The gas is transported into a site where it's stored, compressed and transported by pipeline into an injection well, where it's injected in liquid form into suitable geological reservoirs, such as underground aquifers. Theoretically, CCS could cut global CO2 emissions by up to 19%. However, it's not currently financially viable. In 2016, there was just one commercial CCS plant. Like many coal-fired operations, E.ON's power station at Kingsnorth on the Thames Estuary is ready to be adapted to CCS should it become viable. Until then, that option lies unused. Secondly, hydrogen fuel cells. Hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe, but it's usually combined with other elements such as carbon. Once separated, it provides an alternative to fuel. Fuel cells convert chemical energy in hydrogen to electricity, with pure water as a byproduct. Hydrogen fuel cells are far more efficient than petrol engines in vehicles. Separating hydrogen from other elements initially requires energy, but this can be provided by renewable sources such as solar and wind energy. Thirdly, electric vehicles. Traditionally, problems with electric vehicles included their range and price. Cars were often limited to 80 to 90 miles between charges. Tesla's new electric car extends over 200 miles and are cheaper than many electric cars, although they still cost over £25,000. And that is the end of episode number 7. I hope you learnt something. I hope you can take something away from this. Please do share this with whoever you think might find it useful, a friend, a teacher, a colleague, I don't know, whoever you think might find it useful. And I will see you same time, same place next week. Bye guys.